So I'm not gonna lie, I thought long and hard about whether or not to publish this video because Hasbro took forever to get this case of figures to me, and they've been out in some places for months and they've been showing up in stores and everywhere else. So there's a distinct possibility you've probably already seen these. But I figured, YouTube is supposed to be for fun. So let's take a look at them and publish a video anyway. So if you're here to check them out with me, I really appreciate you this time. Let's get into this. All right, welcome to another episode of Paul's Collectibles. It's good to have you. Thanks for joining me. Today we're looking at another wave of 3 3/4 inch vintage collection action figures that frankly have been out for quite a while. I ordered the entire case from Entertainment Earth, and to their credit, they said they weren't supposed to be here till February, and they just showed up here in the middle of December. But once again, as a testament to Hasbro's weird distribution channels and systems, they've been showing up in stores and have been mailed to other places overseas, probably coming up on a month to a month and a half now. So this one's a little older. I'm excited to have it. So without any further ado, let's get this case open in front of some lights and take a look at it and see what I'll be adding to my action figure collection today. Okay, so there's the whole wave out of the case. You get 2 General Hera Syndullas from Ahsoka, 2 pre-Vizslas from the Clone Wars, 1 Rogue One director Orson Krennic, 1 Darth Revan from Knights of the Old Republic, 1 R5-D4, but this time from the Mandalorian, and 1 Chopper from Ahsoka. Not a bad selection. I didn't publish a video nor really mention it much, but I got 2 of the director Orson Krennics separate from this case because I'm a huge Imperials fan and I really liked that character. And I'm glad I did because I didn't know there was only going to be 1 in this case. So let's get these figures parted out and take a look at it one by one. Okay, first up we've got the General Hera Syndulla from Star Wars Ahsoka, and I'm going to try and be as objective about this as possible. I was not a big fan of the Ahsoka series. It kind of almost didn't seem like it mattered. Like by the end of the situation, nothing had happened except for a couple of people traded places, but that's neither here nor there. We're here to look at the craftsmanship and the artisan nature of the figures. So I do like this really deep purple background they have for her name pill and the back of the character. That's really cool. You don't see that much. And the card it's sufficient for what we need. Hera Syndulla mostly stood around and talked during the Ahsoka show, and I don't know, like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of the character, but as far as representing what she did in the series, that's not a bad looking card. I like that it's crisp and clear and you've got a clear background for some good contrast so you can see her. But let's take a look at the figure. Okay, so there's a good look at Hera in the bubble. The details on this are actually really good. You can see the silver around her goggles. She has the 1 pistol there. The detail on her rank badge is very good. The face sculpt is really good. It looks like her nose may be just a little too big, but I mean, at this scale, once again, it's really difficult to get upset about something like that, especially since they did a really good job. You can just see a little bit of color in her lips coming on down. The jacket is good. I like that they have the contrasting elements in her shirt to give it a little bit of, well, like a contrasting nature. Down here to her pants, they're orange, and I get it, they're supposed to be clean, but this is another one of those examples where I believe just a little bit of a light wash would add some depth, maybe some shadow into those pants because they're just too orangey. And the boots, you know, standard action figure boots. As far as action figures go, that's not a complete miss, just a couple of things that I think they could do to improve that, if anything, and it looks pretty good. And General Hera Syndulla is VC300. Okay, so I figured I'd go through this wave by show alphabetically, so that leaves us with Chopper C110P from Star Wars Ahsoka as well, the first live-action version of that Rebels droid that we got, and that's an excellent card. He's got a lot of color on him, and I like the fact that he kind of pops off of that completely white background with just a little bit of gray, and it's really bright and it's really airy, and I think they did a good job on that one, and I like that card. He's got the yellowish gold name background and the yellowish gold background for the figure. But let's get a good look at that droid. Okay, now as you can see, he's a little smaller for the regular size characters, and they still charge the same amount for the figure as opposed to some of the larger ones. So they did at least take the opportunity to throw in a couple of little small accessories here that I'm assuming can fit on the top of his dome somewhere. He has his little arms coming out the side. I get the impression that this is one of those figures that if you give it to a kid, most of it's going to be missing very quickly. Those two little pieces are going away. Those little arms are getting broken off. So luckily I keep them in the package because I'd probably be guilty of doing the same thing. And down on the body of the figure, just, you know, it looks like they took an R2-D2 almost and cut it in half and just did some re-deco on there, something like that, but it's not bad. I mean, if you look at the picture and you look at the character, they did a good job of matching what we saw in that TV show. And he's got the intricate hoses and things of that nature. And that wheel always bothered me. It looked a little too shopping cart for me, but I mean, they still mostly accurately represented it on this figure. So, not a super exciting figure. I've never been a droids guy anyway, but it'll suffice and it gets the job done. And Chopper is VC304. Next up in alphabetical order by show is Vizsla from Star Wars The Clone Wars, the animated series, I presume. I don't think we've ever seen this guy in live action. And he suffers from what happens with a lot of those computer-generated animated shows, in as much as the card looks really kind of 2D. Like the gray background is kind of blah, and the character is really grayish, and, you know, with just a little bit of green accents, and he kind of just mixes right into the back of the card. So not a real good card. He doesn't pop very well. It doesn't really showcase the character really well. I mean, you can see him well, but from an artistic standpoint, I just don't think that it's very pleasing to the eye. I think they could have picked a better way to showcase him. That being said, you can see him, so I guess I can't complain too much. Let's get a look at that figure. Okay, and as if to make up for skimping a little bit on the Chopper figure, this guy comes packed full of stuff. He's got two blasters, which will clearly fit in his holsters, and he has another version of the Darksaber. I know that's going to make a lot of people happy that use that Darksaber accessory for a number of their different displays and things of that nature, because I think so far we've only gotten that Darksaber with the Moff Gideon figure, but I might be wrong. And he's got the removable helmet, and if you look back there, he's got his backpack on as well with what looks like probably doesn't fire, but what would normally be a firing missile. And this guy's really cool. I don't know much about him. I wonder if he's post-Vizsla's brother. See what I did there? Pre-Vizsla, post-Vizsla? Okay, moving along. I love the face sculpt. He looks angry and looks a little haggard. Looks like he's war-weary. I like it. The armor is something that we haven't normally seen from Mandalorian characters for the most part. They normally don't paint logos on the front, but I like what looks like some form of a bird or an eagle that's painted on the front of his armor here. He's kind of a monotone colored guy, but I guess, you know, hey, that's the way he rolls, and so that's what he kind of looks like. It looks like they also, yeah, they have the green on the helmet. He's got just a slight turquoise accent in his helmet here. It's a little hard to see because I don't take him out of the bubble. But the belt on this guy is a little odd looking, if you ask me. It makes him almost look portly or something. Whereas in the picture here, he's clearly not a thick dude. So I wonder if that's just the way the character is in there. But that's really the only, if I had to say, complaint that I have. And it's not really a complaint. The belt's a little off scale. They could have made that a little smaller. I know, shockingly, considering this scale is so small. So actually, at the end of the day, though, a really cool figure. And it's hard to go wrong with these Mandalorian type figures as well, because they're just cool looking. And Vizsla is VC299. Now, during the intro to this video, you heard me talk about how long it took me to get this case and how many of these figures have already been out and people have purchased and seen. And this guy is the worst. I actually got two director Orson Krennics by themselves from Entertainment Earth probably 3 weeks ago now. Still waiting for the case to come out. So everybody has seen him. He's old hat, but I can't resist because I'm a huge Empire Officers fan. Everybody knows that watches my channel. So I'm going to talk about him briefly, but he's from Star Wars Rogue One. And I just realized that I went out of order for my alphabetical stuff. So kill me. Rogue One, my favorite anthology Star Wars movie outside of the original trilogy. And just that's a good looking card. I know some people weren't happy with it, but man, he looks angry and he looks like he's ready for bear. I mean, look at that. That is really, he's very dignified, very imperial looking in that card. And I kind of like it. I think the only thing that would have been cool is if he was facing that way a little bit, because it seems odd that he's facing to the exterior of the card. But I mean, that's a nitpick. I actually like it. Let's take a quick look at that figure really fast. Okay, so there's the figure up close. He comes with his little pistol, but I think it's supposed to be silver. This one's kind of black in color. His pistol was very, very unique, and I'm a little disappointed that they didn't make it that color, because that's one of his defining features. You can even see it in the card over here, but oh well. And I love the soft goods, but not soft goods cape thing they're doing here, because the capes on these things, sometimes they get a little weird looking if they try to make them too big and they kind of get out there and never land. And quite frankly, not really cool looking. But this looks like it's pretty much based on that new officer sculpt that we've been getting. If you look a couple of videos ago, I actually published one about the multi-pack for the officers. So we knew that we were going to get a bunch of different officers, and this doesn't disappoint. I think he has the Jodhpurs though, and the other ones did not, but I might be mistaken on that as well. And the face sculpt, they're doing really good jobs on these face sculpts. He's just a little off looking, but nothing to get too upset about. I love how this figure was packed. The head is looking up and away a little bit, like, please save me. But I'm happy to have this, and like I said, it's difficult to disappoint me on the Empire figures. And director Orson Krennic is VC302. And next up we have Darth Revan from Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I believe that's a video game, and I couldn't remember why I felt like I had reviewed this character, or at least overviewed this character before, and then it dawned on me on my very last video. We have this exact same guy, except for his light side version that came in that 2-pack with his HK-47 droid. So this, I looked at it, and then I looked at the previous one. This time he's got a purple and a red lightsaber, which is really cool. I'm not gonna lie, I used to collect only people who had lightsabers and Imperials, but now I collect them all. But anyway, so I definitely would have picked this guy up. And as I mentioned in that, it's my most recent video, this character is incredibly detailed. So I love the card this time. He looks, this is how you're supposed to do a character that's in the shadows, because you can still see the lightsaber. There's blue and lightning in the background, and he's kind of shrouded a little bit, but he's also a bad guy, at least at this point. And so that card, and I like how the lightsaber kind of goes off up behind the logo. That's how you do that kind of card. The pre-Vizsla one is a little disappointing, but let's get a quick look at that figure, as I've already talked about what I think is this exact same figure, just in a different color scheme. And yeah, I mean, come on, look at that. Darth Revan, I don't know much about him. I don't play the video games, but that dude is cool looking, man, with that red mask. And I like that they did the hood in the molded plastic. That way it didn't fly away and start getting weird looking. And the vest, super intricate detail, great details on the belt, nice silver accents. And when you get down here though, this is how you do those the different molding techniques. Now you see he's got the red thing in the middle here, and it's kind of like a plastic tool, but he's also got real soft goods, and that mixed together makes for a great look. What a great figure. I think this one, or maybe the next one, are probably going to end up being my favorites out of this wave, even though there's an Imperial officer in this one. And Darth Revan, this time from Knights of the Old Republic, is VC301. And finally, we have a figure that I'm really excited about, even though I don't normally care too much for the droids, and that is R5-D4 from Star Wars The Mandalorian. And why am I so excited about this? This guy has been a part of my life since, man, 1979, when I was like 9 or 10 years old. He's been around forever, and I got a kick when he showed back up in the Mandalorian series and they were using him again. And to get him on a card like this is almost like getting the original one for me. Plus, I really like the Mandalorian series, so it's a win-win both ways. And I mean, it's just a beautiful throwback, but also new figure and card back. So I'm just going to gush about this one for a second. I think this one's going to be my favorite simply because of the artistic aesthetic of the entire thing, plus the throwback to my childhood. But the only thing I don't like about this card is he's a little darker than I think he needs to be. I think if they had just put a little bit more light on him, maybe hit him with some Photoshop effects, of lightening him up, that would have been great. But I mean, overall, like the background should have been this color and he should have been this lighter color. Does that make sense? That's what I think. Anyway, I don't care. Beautiful card, beautiful figure. I love it. Let's take a look at the actual droid itself though. And there he is, classic R2-D2's cousin, R5-D4. Basically the same droid from A New Hope that popped the motivator, and Luke Skywalker had to get R2-D2, and it started the entire Star Wars franchise for me as far as I'm concerned. This guy is as integral to the entire storyline as Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker and any of those characters, because he was there at the very beginning, and I'm just, as you can hear in my voice, I'm just excited to have him. And of course, they're getting really good with these R2-D2 style droids. I mean, that's basically just, for lack of a better way to put it, a repaint of R2-D2 with a new head. But that's what it's supposed to be, and it looks really good. The offset colors, the reds, I'm just ecstatic to have this one. I mean, we've talked about this before. They've got the little wires in his feet and the correct third leg under there, and something is popping out of his dome up there. And overall, it's just a really good looking figure. And I think this, like I said, is going to be my favorite out of the whole line. And our 5D4 is VC303. But there you have it, just a quick overview, a quick look at the 6 characters from this latest wave of vintage collection action figures. It's a great wave. There's some great selections in here, and even for the characters that I don't really like that much, the figure looks really cool. So I'm not going to complain. I'm pretty excited to have this wave, considering I think the last wave we got was fairly underwhelming. So I appreciate you joining me, and if you're not a subscriber to the channel, maybe consider doing that. It's a great way to support my efforts here at Paul's Collectibles. And if you sat with me all the way through this video and looked at these figures that have been out forever, I cannot begin to tell you how much I appreciate you. But with that, I'll see you on the next video.